Hey, you.
Oh, now let's see. The big plane should be arriving in Benedict around 1:30. That should give the Hollywood people time enough to make their connection to Dallas.
You're in the wrong place, amigo. Come on, let's get out of here. Vamos, andale. Your money's no good here. Come on, let's go. You too.
Hold on a minute.
Yes? What do you want?
Now, look here, Sarge. I'd sure appreciate it if you were a little more polite to these people.
Oh, you would you?
I'm Vic Benedict. Your neighbor, you might say.
Does that give you special privileges?
The name Benedict's meant something to people around here for a considerable time.
That there papoose down there. His name Benedict, too?
Yeah, come to think of it. It is.
All right, forget I asked you. Now, you just go back over there and sit down, and we ain't gonna have no trouble. But this bunch here's gonna eat somewhere else. All right, come on, let's go.
Take care.
Come on, you two. Soon. You're out of line, mister.
Hi, and welcome to Palata Trinazzi. It's I don't even know how to pronounce it anymore. Ward 13.
Ward
Since
13.
nobody will ever come on Queen City Chronicles because they're also afraid of he who shall not be named.
Oh, really?
I've decided to go. Well, I'm changing the name if I keep at it to Jesting Pilot, but we won't get into that. I think that's.
There was also the whole theatrical thing with Macbeth, right? The play. What was it? The play. There was a superstition.
It's always called the Scottish
play. They would never call it Macbeth because somehow something would happen to people in the play if they said the word. So they would call it. I'm in the Scottish play.
Very superstitious people, actors.
And who was the she who should not be named?
Rumpole the Bailey.
Rumpole the Bailey. My God, I'd forgotten that show. What a great
Leo
show.
McKern, who was actually an Austin.
Yes.
Because that's his wife, but of course She was a famous novel by H.H. Rider or something from the 20s.
Yeah.
And who played her in the movies?
Oh, I don't know.
There's a Nixon connection. Helen Gahan, or Gahan, or Gahagan. Then she became Douglas because she married Melvin Douglas.
Oh.
And
who is this now?
She was a congresswoman, liberal congresswoman, who Richard Nixon beat in 1950 when they ran for Senate. And he said she was pink right down to her underwear. Yeah. Is that how you pronounce her name? Okay. I have dyslexia.
Yeah.
Which didn't exactly help learning Russian, you know.
So Nixon ran in Nixon
in 1950 for Senate. He was elected in 46 as a congressman, just like JFK.
Yeah, they were elected the same day.
Yeah.
Right.
JFK took till 52 to become senator. But Melvin Douglas, one of the great liberals, and he was gray listed. People know the blacklist.
Yeah.
But liberals, including Henry Fonda, who was a liberal Republican, and Edward G. Robinson were also gray listed. They just weren't given work.
Right.
So they could go to the stage. But interesting. But that's the great scene from Giant, which when I grew up in the 60s, when you're always talking about America.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's the subtext of that was George Stevens, won 2 Oscars, a great director, was in the Army Signal Corps and filmed the war, and he was at Bergen-Belsen. And they say he never got over it.
Right.
Filming.
Yeah. You know, all of us that know anything about the Nazi atrocities and the war camps, etc., all have the good fortune, if you want to call it that, of sort of being prepared for it before we see it, right? Our first introduction isn't walking in the gates in 1945.
Yeah.
The guys who walked in those gates
shot a lot of the Germans.
But they had nothing to prepare themselves for such horror. You know?
Right, there'd been rumors, but nobody really believed it.
Yeah. And so it was like
the Jews believed it in America in place, but not the.
But even then, I think most Jews had no idea. They knew about the fact that people were being encamped and concentration camps, but did they know the what was the reality, the horror? I think nobody. And you know, interesting. The Austrian foreign minister last week used the word concentration camp. And in this case, he's a far right, one of the new neo-rights in Europe.
I had an embarrassing moment when
he talked about last week. He says that it was an unfortunate use of terms, and he didn't mean that exactly. But he talked about concentrating all the immigrants in Austria in not in a camp, but in some parts of the city, in a ghetto.
In a ghetto, yeah.
So that
like the Jews were before.
And he said his claim. Imagine this, in Austria of all places, right? And he said that was his justification was so that social services and local government, etc., could operate, could sort of help them best because they'd all be in the same place.
It worked well in Warsaw before 1943. Then it kind of broke down, so they had to kill them all, right?
So the
Send them to Auschwitz.
Yeah. So the world's gone mad, right? Like the things that would have been unbelievable. We're like an Alice through the looking glass. Things that wouldn't have been believable a year ago.
This is old Hoppy. He's in 1988 drunk, and what's the hometown of Mozart? Salzburg.
Salzburg, yeah.
And they got the sign for Kurt Waldheim was, I guess, president. He had been elected president. And I'm yelling, I'm calling all the Austrians coming by Nazis. And my friend, I can't speak German. They're all going by. Obviously, because of the haircut, they know you're an American. Just another drunken, ugly American soldier.
Yeah.
But they used to get into, when I was in Germany in the 80s, the West Germans, Hitler always came up.
Really?
Hitler was bad, but Stalin was much worse, which was a prelude to Hitler wasn't that bad after all, was he?
Yeah. No, I never. My memory of being in Germany in the 1980s, and especially, I did one trip into Eastern Germany and through the old Czechoslovakia and into Poland, and.
As in from a neutral country.
And it was anyway. It was just it was so strange. But
was Czechoslovakia? Did you go to Hungary?
No, I didn't go to
Hungary
at that time.
Wasn't that bad as backward as other places in East Germany? Of all the Warsaw Pact, was better off.
Yeah.
But I'll never forget what The Economist said. And I don't want to raise another red flag, mention The Economist like we did on Matt Garland on Unleashed in the Afternoon. They said that Gorbachev wanted to adopt East German methods, and The Economist, which is what you call a liberal in this old-fashioned sense of capitalist or conservative, would say, well, Mr. Gorbachev, and they'd always talk like that. Russians aren't Germans.
Yeah, yeah.
You couldn't
Well,
get away with that now.
I mean, no, but Gorbachev recognized what he had, and so he did what he did. In the end, he probably did Russia a great favor because it was about to implode anyway. I know that some people like to think that Ronald Reagan had a lot to do with it.
Nothing.
I think if you talk to Polish people, they would say that John Paul II was the one who did it with Lech Walesa and his visit to Poland.
No, it just collapsed.
So,
Here's the thing. This is the thing, and this is what I found out. The CIA was regularly overestimating both the amount they're spending on defense, and I can tell you, as somebody, their
Who knew
military
something
was
about it.
huge, but was degraded,
Right.
including something I can't talk about.
Yeah.
Even those were degraded, which was startling. But which was the thing probably, if you listen to Matt Carter today, your point you're trying to make, they pretending this is like a military equal to the new Reagan military.
Right.
All
You can have,
shiny and
the
everything.
Iraqis had their Republican Guard, which was fear the Republican Guard.
You know that. And they went up.
Yeah,
You probably.
yeah.
See, these are the stories we
there's
know.
more
and other
than
people
one
don't.
way. There's more than one way to skin a
wonder
cat.
what Michigan
Yeah. If you all
Bribe them.
So
But
yeah,
geez.
so there's if you leave it all to military power and just wait till you get to the battlefield, it's like Bill Belichick is preparing for next Sunday's game right now,
Psychology, though.
and he's preparing a battle plan, etc. He's not waiting till Saturday afternoon and going out and going to go head to head. And
Well, he has to change the weather, like the guy for the Titans.
so the same is true of all these things. There's lots of ways of preparing the ground, so to speak. My example, I was talking earlier on. We were talking about the Malvinas and the Falklands War, right? And the Brits took about 2 months or 3 months to assemble their flotilla to go down there. But like something you'd see in a movie or read about, right? So the Brits.
But the BBC was critical until the Official Secrets Act was invoked after, was it the Belgrano?
Yeah, the Belgrano.
And then suddenly even the BBC is
was
all
like,
patriotic.
Yeah, and she goes, but what
The Sun was so bad.
What they
Talk about
did,
jingo.
but what they did was they went down to the Ascension Islands very quickly once the invasion
Hermes, they
happened,
called it, the
the Hermes was the ship, but they went down to the Ascension Islands and set up a radio station in the Ascension Islands. And this is one of multifaceted warfare again. It's not just about bullets and guns and landing on goose green and all the rest of it, and Exocet missiles. They set up a radio station on Ascension Islands and broadcast at the Falklands. Now there's 30,000 Argentinians sitting dug in trenches around the Falklands, and of course their commanders and etc. were going to dilute and edit any news coming to them. What the Brits were doing was purporting to be a South American radio station.
Hey.
And they were broadcasting
Psyops.
in Argentine, Spanish, with Argentinian accents to the Argentinian troops. And of course, think about the days, and young people won't understand this, pre-internet, pre-phones, all that stuff. They had radios.
radio was so-
you listen to the radio. So you have these guys sitting on this,
Well, Van Morrison wavelength would not be.
right.
Voice of America.
Right. But they think they're listening to a South American radio station, and the radio station, they had letters written from supposedly mothers of troops in all the different battalions and regiments or whatever was there.
Oh yeah, the Brits are coming.
So yeah, and of course, if they were on, be afraid, be very afraid, the Brits are coming. It was none. They were purporting to be Argentinian, but part of the news would be. If the Brits were going to send 70,000 troops, then this news program said they're bringing 150. And,
you do that.
The New York Times says that it's likely that there'll be 80% attrition of Argentinian troops, and
Nobody knew there was a junta from '64, which was supported by the United States for a long time.
Galtieri,
And,
the Admiral Galtieri.
That's where Chicago School of Economics was the workshop. Friedman and trickle-down economics. But nobody knew exactly what would happen.
Right.
But the British fighters were so superior to those Mirage.
They were, of course. I mean, they had, and they had to. But my point was that it's not just about the hardware. People ask what side is God on in the war. He's on the. But psychological warfare, economic warfare, all of it. It takes all of it in order to win. So in the end,
we need to change subjects. So.
We do.
Yeah.
So in the end, the Republican Guard disappears off over the hill, so to speak, and there was no fight because
But here's the thing.
they They were disappeared.
I studied the Soviet Union, I studied psychology and everything. In '72, Gorbachev had a 5-year plan where they tried to introduce market mechanisms into the economy. The problem with the Soviet economy is you could not gauge supply and demand because the factories were in control of party bosses.
Right,
now, in
right.
order to introduce market mechanisms, you have got to ease up on the power of the party bosses. And they tried, but they resisted, and it couldn't be done without undermining the Communist Party. Brezhnev understood that. So what's Glasnost? It's doing that exact same thing. And as soon as they eased up on them,
Right.
the whole thing collapsed.
Well, the whole
And,
idea of the command
yeah,
economy, even the logistics, it doesn't work,
yeah.
right? So
Autarky in Argentina didn't work. You know that.
Yes.
When you're talking about that, they think, well, Peronism. We could have a single market, no exports, because in 1929, I believe, the 3 biggest economies, and they were all equal virtually in GNP, were Canada, the United States, and Argentina.
Really?
But Argentina never recovered, unlike Canada and the United States, because of Peronism. Which now I'm going down your free market. type
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
And you know, I don't like to do that.
the free market's all good.
Let's show.
So I have a couple of minutes left.
No, you don't, because we're going to do C. Let's see C. Somebody just sent me an insulting text, by the way. I think you'll appreciate this.
Okay.
Can we roll C? Well, we'll see what's going on. I shouldn't have.
Who's jingled? Who is?
Oh, he's one of one of the people that comes on that part of Unleashed in the afternoon. But he disappeared.
I will make the king do you grace.
This doesn't have anything to do with the sommelier from Tim Baines' restaurant. Okay, here we go. This is in honor of a changing of the guard. I'm sure you'll get that there, Jim. Hey, can we hear it in here? Well, yeah, can we hear the speaker in here for this? Oh, okay.
God save me, my sweet boy!
He kind of looks like Mr. Baseball
Where
with a
do you-
beard.
Have you your wits?
You've
No, what
seen
did you
this.
say? My king!
This is one of my
My
two
Joe!
favorite plays. Henry IV, 1 and
I
2.
speak to
This is
thee,
the end
my
of Henry
heart.
IV, Part 2.
I know
Well,
thee
we got to
not,
watch
old
this
man.
first.
All
Caller,
my
call
prayers.
back afterwards. We're going to be doing baseball. Uh-oh.
Our
No.
ill white hairs
I don't.
become a
We only
fool
take
and
local
jester.
calls. Right, Mr. Baseball?
I have long dreamed of such a kind of man,
Of course you remember
so
his
surfeit
line.
swelled,
What is it?
so
How
old,
ill
and
your
so
hairs
profane.
on
But
the
being
justice
awakened,
Yeah.
I do despise my dream.
And that's the new found Henry V.
Make less thy body hence, and more thy grace.
Or was that Henry
Leave
IV?
gormandizing.
Yeah.
That's
Know the
those are my two
grave doth
favorite-
cape for thee thrice wider than for
favorite
other men.
hair
Apply not to me with a fool-born jest.
Those
Presume not that
guys
I am
from
the thing
John
I was.
Feelgood and,
He's in this.
For God
Is
doth
he?
know,
He
so shall the
the
world
other
perceive.
guy is John
But I have
Feelgood,
turned away my former self,
Olivier,
so will I
Laurence
those that
Olivier.
kept me company.
Yeah, he revolutionized.
When thou dost hear I am as I have
He
been,
was
approach me,
friends with,
and thou shalt be as thou wast, the tutor and the feeder of my riots.
making the
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah.
Till then, I banish thee on pain of death, as I have done the rest of my misleaders, not to come near our person.
This is not
by
a
10
commentary
mile.
on a mayor that's left. People read things
Confidence
into
of life,
everything.
I will allow
They
you.
do, but then, they're
With
free
lack
to
of
do
means
that.
and
It's
force
not
you not
explicit,
to
so
evil.
therefore they can read whatever they would wish.
Not on Matt Connaughton Unleashed in the Afternoon, no.
No.
We
At
take
your
things
charge,
literally.
my lord, to see perform the tenor
Oh, we
of our
do?
word.
Well, Jimmy is only as big as the dog. We won't get into that one. You have to catch your Matt. He's so canny and cunning. Now, of course, that's Orson Welles' Falstaff. What's so great when you're watching he's so proud, even though he's being banished.
Yes, yes.
Because that's his surrogate son is king now.
Right.
Well, we don't have a king, but we have a queen of the Queen City.
We do, yes.
I would
Joyce
think that you might take 5 minutes to talk about that. And
Well,
what it would mean.
I'm it's early days. I'm delighted so far what I've seen. I didn't have an opportunity to attend the wonderful ball, the inaugural ball, the other night.
I was in an emergency room.
Oh, really?
I had a fall.
So, but I was told it was a wonderful time. And
Two U.S. senators were there.
were they really? Yeah. So that's good. I also saw that she was in Concord today, I think, testifying in the House. So I didn't see the details of all of that because I was traveling all day and just made it back for the show. But I'm very hopeful. I'm delighted that Joyce Craig is the mayor. I'm hopeful that we enter this, as I've described it, this period of more collegiality, etc. So
Well, there is a man on the Board of Aldermen who's becoming increasingly irrational, although I won't mention any names. Oh, let's just say a person, right? This is there's one on the school board, but we can mention him, Gerard. Gerard's coming off as saying, Rich is very smart.
Yeah, I've heard very little from him. Now that he's not on the air, I don't know. So I expect him to be. I expect all of them, to have at least a short honeymoon period. I think a month would be fine. I don't think we need. It's only a 2-year term. So
don't you read the Union Leader?
Yes, I do.
They're going after her on race issues,
Yeah,
white privilege.
But that's all part sort of a Trumpism thing, right? So it's a reaction to Trump. Whatever Trump does, they're reacting to it because this is defending, in my world, the indefensible. So, he said the terrible things he said. The White House didn't deny it. Now they're trying to backtrack it. And then you have, even here at the local level, you have some of the sycophants in this city who are, all in on the Trump thing. And so they feel the obligation.
2 weeks ago, on Joe Kelly Lavasse's show, I was shocked. He declared war on Joyce Craig, and he made what I would consider anti-Semitic comments, or he's just plain ignorant, talking about the rabbi that delivered the benediction, like why these aren't the exact words because I don't have the ability to tape his show, and I really wouldn't want to, but something like she foisted this upon us without telling us, and what language he started, which is Hebrew, and that's just my impression of that.
I didn't see that because
that's just my impression. He said, "I am going to, in fact, send a letter to Alderman O'Neill, Alderman Barry, and to Mayor Craig asking about this because I was shocked." And Joe was brought in front of a conduct board and he was admonished for conduct unbecoming.
I wasn't aware of that, and I know that the cut and thrust of politics, right? And I know that Joe Kelly Lavasser likes to. Well, I don't know. I know that he's not shy about sort of entering the fray. So, but I would be very disappointed if that's the road he wanted to take. The city needs.
I was shocked. Yeah,
so there's a lot of
things.
And
maybe only have seen it once.
Right.
If I watched it again, and that's why I would like to see it. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'm over exaggerating because were you there when I got really mad when they were talking? Somebody brought up that I don't want to go pay for taxes with Negroes in the school system.
Oh yeah, I didn't know.
Jeez, if you were there, you probably just hunkered down. Go off.
I would, because that's sort of there's enough hatred in the world. So I would hope though that we have a new administration. Not that everything becomes perfect and all the rest of it, but I hope people would put on their big boy pants and do what's right for the city of Manchester, and
not use division.
No. And what's very funny is the very same people who talk about division, they're accusing. It's like this circular argument. I did enter the fray, so to speak, on the issue of race and racism and mentioned it.
I think you did. I think you stopped. We're not going to get into the details.
Yeah.
Somebody that would have been attacked unfairly for his religion and national origin,
Right.
and I commend you for that. When I'm not lambasting you for
it's an
something
area
else.
that I sorry, it's
Yeah.
a step too far for me. So we can argue policy, we can argue politics, we can disagree fundamentally on economics and social issues. There's lots of places to play
Oh, yeah.
in the sandbox. But
I always saw it like Joe as a valuable thing. It's like a tribune of people when he can control his emotions. See, I think of Joe's like a brother, like kindred. Neither one of us can control our emotions.
Yeah.
He may be a little better than me, but
yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it's an excuse to watch. I know he's been doing a show with Will Infantine, so I don't know. I haven't actually been. I've been out of the fray, sort of the Christmas period and beyond. I haven't really gotten into the cut and thrust of.
You mean you
the
haven't
new
been
period.
attacked yet?
Well, that's true too. That's true too.
It's coming.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, and I'm a big boy too. I'm well able to take it. So I would I would expect these people though to not let's not go down in the gutter, right? We can get very heated and we can argue and we can discuss. We don't have to. People don't have to start getting into the mud of race relations and stuff like that.
I can see, and if they do go off there for ignorance or cupidity, people like you and I can help stop that or prevent it. Hey, I would just like to take a minute to, what did Martin Luther King mean and put the camera, Jim, what did Martin Luther King mean to the Irish, particularly like in Northern Ireland, when you were growing up?
He was Martin Luther King. It can't be overstated that about the influence of Martin Luther King, not just in the United States but beyond, because the whole what became the troubles in Northern Ireland was a sort of response to this growth in a desire for independence that grew out of the 1960s. So of the many things that happened in the 1960s, we had this idea of nationalism, and we saw that happen in colonial areas, etc. And then, we have this transformational figure in the United States. Coming off of the rhetoric of the Kennedys in the beginning and the Civil Rights Act and all that stuff, but Martin Luther King is right there in the middle of it, and with our friend John Lewis, who still serves our country today. And so in Northern Ireland, I think people identified Martin Luther King and his ideas, and they decided, it was the only country in Europe that didn't have one man, one vote. And so people said, we can see what the minorities are doing in the United States. We too should rise up as a minority in Northern Ireland and demand our rights.
So he was a great man of international stature.
Absolutely. I mean, he was, and also, he was very important in terms of, it's not that he was the cause of African independence, because that was happening at the same time. But he was one of the faces of that. Inspiring the newly formed governments of Africa.
Brilliant orator.
And a brilliant orator. And again, there's a division between sort of the man
and a brilliant thinker.
The man, and a visionary. There's the man and his, proclivities or whatever, and then there's the actual. It doesn't matter, right? That's the human
stress that man is under.
That's the human form of genius, right? So. The stress he was under must have been extraordinary, and the bravery that it took,
and to know you're going to probably die and be killed,
and be very I mean, you talk to people who I was listening to a piece just on Monday because of Martin Luther King Day about black or colored soldiers who ended up in training for World War II in places in the South, and they talked about the abuse that they had to put up with.
Same as in baseball. Yeah, it was horrific.
The officers were white. The community was white.
Jackie Robinson was court-martialed for being in Texas and being on a bus with a white woman who he was talking to.
Yeah.
And he was from Los Angeles.
He was lucky he was only court-martialed.
Right, and he fought it. And that's what brought him to Branch Ricky's attention. Thank you, Jim, because that's a segue into baseball.
I'll leave the seat
Take care.
Yes, we'll see you next week. Thank you, folks.
And thank you. Let's come on, Mr. Baseball. Now it's my turn to fight him. I fought you on the radio, now him on the TV. They like this at Billy's Sports Bar. If they're on, who cares? Take care, Jim. I'm being insulted. People are sending me insulted. delightful commentators. Now this is from Speedy, a great Harold Lloyd movie, 1928. So 5 years, only 5 years old. The house that we built was wrong. How many World Series did the Yankees win from 23 to 28? How many were in?
They were in.
Because the Babe got rambunctious. Tried to steal second, and the seventh game, the World Series with 2 outs in the ninth. Who was on? Pete Alexander? Why did he just?
With Bob Musial.
He was 33 years old.
Takes that.
Oh, look at, since I had to obscure the Mr. Baseball. I had a Wizard of Oz. Who played the Wizard of Oz?
Blowing up a whopper. To speak in the vernacular of the peasantry.
Peter
little
Lorre?
kid, I
What
hope she
role
gets
did he
home
play?
all
The
right.
troll? The Winky? Was it? No, that was Jack Haley. Uh-oh, it's going on again.
I think it was
Kirsten, where are you? The movie's going again. My God, it's recycled itself. Satanic Yankees stealing the greatest pitcher the Red Sox ever had, except for Roger Clemens.
Yeah.
Cy Young, maybe. How many years did Cy Young pitch with the Red Sox?
He pitched a few. Good.
Was he there in the 1903 team that won the World Series?
Yes. He lost the first World Series game ever.
Cy Young, huh?
Yeah.
Who
But
did
he-
they play? The Giants?
Pittsburgh Pirates.
With Hans Wagner as the shortstop?
I don't know if he was on that team, but he was.
Hans wasn't on that team?
I don't think so. He played in the 1909 World Series against Detroit. He went up against Cobb and outplayed Cobb completely.
How many times was Cobb's Detroit Tigers in the World Series straight? 3
Uh,
or 4?
7, 8, and 9.
3
1906.
straight. Would
Yeah.
they have been there without Ty Cobb?
I don't know. I don't think so, but they didn't win one World Series. Cobb,
It was 0 for 3?
yeah.
Well, that's 2 more than Ted Williams got in. And Ty Cobb used to send Ted Williams advice because they knew each other. And of course, they respected each other. But they had 2 different hitting philosophies because Ted believed with Babe Ruth, you uppercut the ball.
Yeah.
And Ty Cobb always said, well, I could hit home runs. Said he was going to hit 3 home runs in one game, but then just went back to hitting singles. And we were talking about the famous thing Babe Ruth said, because, they did not like each other because Ty just did not like Babe.
Right.
And what did he say? If I hit those bitty singles, I'd hit 600. Which might have been true. Who knows?
Who knows? He could have hit
One
well.
batting title.
Yeah, one.
He hit 390 something.
Yeah.
378 was his batting title. He never won the Triple Crown, the Babe.
No.
But he hit 393, I think, at 1 year.
Yeah. Gehrig won the Triple Crown in 34.
Just once?
Yeah.
So winning twice like Ted did is very rare.
It's the only one.
Jimmy Fox must have won twice.
No.
You sure?
Positive.
Are you
Williams
sure, Mr.
is the only
Baseball?
one, and Hornsby in the National League is the only one.
I'll bet you the entire winnings in that $5 scratcher ticket.
All right, you're on.
We didn't shake hands because who knows, you might be right. I think we went over that. I can't remember if you were right or I was right. So what are we going to argue about tonight to get the guys at Billy's going?
Get them going.
The Yankees, are a disgusting organization now that they're engaging in tampering.
No, they're not.
With the Orioles. Oh, yeah. Machado just decided he'd stick it out, right?
Well, he's smart.
How old is he?
He's 25 or 6.
Oh, he's older than that.
No, he's young. He's a baby.
He's been up for a long time.
No, he's smart. He's going to play this year. Then when he's a free agent, he can dictate.
to whom he goes and how much
I
he'll
would
make.
love to see that, like that Yankees team when you had Teixeira and everybody on it just fell literally apart.
Well, they won it.
Johnny Damon. No, Johnny Damon didn't fall apart because he went to Kansas City and still had. Well, he came from Kansas City. Did he go? I think he finished his career there too.
No, he bounced around. I think he finished
went
his,
to the Athletics.
and he finished his career with Cleveland, I believe.
Was it the Indians?
Yeah, and he
I think I'm going backwards in time because he went like from Kansas City to the Athletics to the Red Sox.
he turned down
27.
going back to the Red Sox.
Foolish. He should have. He should have gone back.
He didn't like it. For some reason, he did not like it.
He made so much money in endorsements.
Oh, I know.
He made like $3 million a year, and then Pappy took over as the beloved face of Boston.
Exactly.
People forget that.
Oh, yeah.
Johnny Damon was wildly popular.
Oh, he was. He was a good ball player.
But that's what the Red Sox said. We'll give you $7 million. You already got $3 million worth of endorsements. So he took the $10 million from the Yankees, thinking he'd get money in New York. Every endorsement dollar of that era went to Jeter. Rodriguez was never really the face of anything.
No, he did make money in endorsements, but
not in New York.
But Jeter was
the
number
face
one.
of New York.
Absolutely.
Oh, I was down there in Connecticut. My father and I would watch the Yankees. When the Mets weren't on. Well, we had both of them. Depended on who we were going to watch, And every commercial's Jeter. I'll tell you, they had the worst announcers. Bobby Mercer might have been a nice guy and a good player, but he wasn't much of an announcer.
No.
And, it's sad he passed so early, but I don't know, the Yankees never had good announcers. Scooter was terrible.
I like Mel Allen.
Oh, yeah.
But that's going back.
I'm just saying, I only know Mel Allen as, This Week, what was it called, This Week in Baseball? Or
Yeah, Twib.
Yeah.
This Week in Baseball. Yeah.
And then they didn't even show him, he was so old.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Vin Scully's finally gone.
Finally, yeah.
Still with us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's living in L.A. He's retired.
Wished I was in L.A.
He was there to throw out the first ball, the World Series, but it ended up it was rehearsed, and he called out Fernando Valenzuela, who threw the first pitch.
Gee, so there's a Cy Young Award that wasn't deserved. That should have gone to Tom Seaver. Should have won his fourth Cy Young. Should have been the first one to win the fourth instead of lefty Carlton.
Yeah.
Geez, what a year Seaver had with the Reds that year. Who got screwed totally. The best record in baseball, and they didn't get in the playoffs.
No.
I tell you, Bowie Kuhn should not be in the Hall of Fame.
I kind of agree with you. Never cared for him.
In fact, in case we don't want to talk much anymore, I've got a Marvin Miller interview. But I think I've videoed everybody out tonight.
Oh, let's hear some of it.
Oh, well, let's run I, because we can always talk over it.
Okay.
Wait, sorry, H or I?
I. Oh, you could actually, why don't you put the Baseball Oracle background J in the back if you can, just to irritate Mr. Baseball, because this is my show. And he forgot his orange jacket. Then again,
And
mine's
who
still
else
in my
forgot
car.
their orange jacket?
Well, I forgot more than that, didn't I? Forgot my mind. And there you go. And I will watch Marvin Miller, and we can talk over it, even though we can't really hear it much.
In the workplace, without a union,
We can't hear it. I don't see what we can
the
actually comment on,
ownership
can
and
we?
management
All right, let's do it.
can
We'll
do
it.
anything they
I'll
want
bring it in for another.
with regard to your
I'm probably gonna
terms
be
and conditions of
assassinated
employment or
tonight.
firing you or not hiring you. Anything they want that's
Oh, there
not
we go.
forbidden by law. There is no law that says I can't
Oh, you're a godsend. Not
hold
only
on to you, I
can
can't
materialize my gloves
I
from
can't
wherever they
send you
went.
back to the minors if I don't like the way you talk, et cetera, et cetera.
I was in my 6th year of play in the big leagues, making $16,000, and my fiance was flying for American Airlines making 19. And then the Messerschmitt McNally decision came down. Free agency was implemented in '76, and I went from making $16,000 in 1976 to making $60,000 for a year on a 2-year contract. I thought I was a millionaire. And that's when it had an impact, and we could really see that we had been shortchanged for a long time, and there was something that we could now do about it.
We started with very little. I won't say nothing, but very little. You weren't going to have a career where you could retire and be happy, but we had very little, so we stuck together, and it worked on our behalf. You know, with multi-year contracts that they didn't used to
Dave
give
Winfield,
out,
the first $2 million
and
a year.
guarantees, which they didn't used to give. So I was now beginning to see the fruits of our labor,
Buck
the
Martinez said he
benefits
made
of sticking
16
together
grand, then,
and going with the
The
Players
Messerschmitt
Association.
thing went down, and
1981.
I encourage the players to treat the union as their union, not my union, not anybody else's union. It was their union.
really?
It was there for them. They were the union.
I would hear how we were you know, being told what to do by Marvin Miller, and then later it was Don Fear, and you don't hear that so much anymore. I think that that's you know, it's finally been proven to be wrong, because the players did give direction to Marvin, to Don.
Which is a
Players
good
had
thing,
quite a bit of say. Those of us that were on the negotiating committees tried to be involved. Now, we always had the feeling that we're doing this for the group, and I think that's why it's persevered so well.
I look at
It's
it
Don
as
Bailey.
it's the players.
1979 American League MVP
It's
with
not
139
Don Fears
RBI.
or Marvin Miller.
Although Fred
union,
Leonard,
it's the
Jim Rice
players.
should have been the MVP.
And the players have a voice.
You know, two
They
players
get
with
listened
great
to.
stats on one team.
The secret of
And he took the Angels to their first
the success
title.
of the Major League Baseball
Yeah.
Players Union.
Bobby
Yeah.
Rich was a hell of a
I said it's
Bobby
not a
Rich had
secret.
lot to do with that. There's an
Bobby Rich
The
was
solidarity
What
of
an
that
underrated
membership
player.
And DeSantis
through the
was,
years.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I've worked for many unions.
You know who won the
know about
seventh
many
game
others.
was,
My whole adult life, I've been in labor management relations, and I don't know of another union with a record like
There's
that.
one of the people you're always
It doesn't take very
disrespecting.
long
The great Joe Torre.
for a union to be
Gosh, it's almost hard to
beaten to its knees if
recognize
you don't have
1970
solidarity
NL
of the membership.
MVP after the
And I don't think you get
Atlanta
solidarity
traded him
by
to
saying
St.
you got to
Louis.
have
He won the batting
solidarity.
championship that
Jesus,
year with
You
360
build
and
solidarity,
3.
and you build it with the
37
progress
ding,
you make and the
137 RBI,
cooperation of
24
the
home
membership.
runs.
That was a career year.
Yeah, but he had near Hall of Fame stats too.
She trying to say something to you?
Yes, she was counting down, Mr. Baseball. So the baseball oracle signs up. I want to hear some predictions, even though this is early in the whatchamadinger. The Hot Stove League has only been lukewarm.
If that.
Yu Darvish turned down a 4-year, $130 million contract, which was at $23.5 million a year. And some people say the Yankees dodged a bullet. See, what my thing is, you're going to load up on all these the tax-busting players, and they're all going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Just like that team after 2009, when everybody got, you know, well, the Peds gave out.
You
and
can't
stuff
give
like
a
that.
long-term contract guaranteed. But
You can't.
The players aren't going to sign it unless it is guaranteed, and they dictate to whom they're traded. And it's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's ridiculous, these contracts where you can, like, opt out.
Yes.
Like the Stanton contract.
Yeah.
And, well, that contract should have been struck down anyways.
Yeah.
Didn't I just insult Bowie Kuhn?
Yeah.
Bowie, where are you? Where are you to strike that contract down?
I think he's in
hell,
somewhere down below.
I can't believe that
Maybe
Marvin. They still won't put Marvin Miller, the most of the with Branch Rickey, the most influential person in the
Exactly.
post-war period.
Yeah.
He's up there with Kennesaw Mountain Landis, who, you know, cleaned up baseball. Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
I mean, he changed baseball because they had no idea how to behave like a union, and he was just a union economist from the Steelworkers Union.
Right.
Geez, he just that's what they're talking about, how he instilled a discipline, the brotherhood amongst themselves. And he took very little money. His second successor, Don Fair, because baseball players made somebody else briefly the head of it, who one of the mediators that made them rich or something like that,
Right.
Seats or whatever, to Peter. But Fair made a lot of money, but at which he thought that was unethical. But that's the type of person he was, Marvin Miller. He was born around the First World War.
Around the
He was-
first.
no, before that, because he was almost 100 years old when he died.
Was he?
in his 90s. But yeah, that type of person, just doesn't exist anymore. Somebody that's not just out for every dime.
Yeah, I know.
But and he hated agents. He could never understand why a player wouldn't go to a top lawyer in New York and have them negotiate the contract and just pay a fee.
You're right.
But they would go with. He thought agents really hurt the sport.
Well, they did at first, but then.
Oh, they've heard it now.
Well, the
come
owners,
on, Mr. Baseball.
the beginning of that, the
I
owners,
cannot afford to go to
the
a
owners
game.
refused to negotiate with him, but
that
was worn down very quickly.
A guy like Scott Boras is not good for the. He wasn't good for the Yankees.
No.
When he bamboozled them for that second A-Rod contract.
Yeah.
When the boss was,
Yeah.
I guess he had Alzheimer's, and the two sons just didn't have what it took. Particularly that dumbbell Hank. Jeez, talk about Tweedledum and Tweedledummer. Hank being Tweedledummer. Well, the other one was just didn't even like baseball. Hal.
No.
But who was his mother's favorite?
And then
so he got the baseball team because he owns it.
Then the sister's husband.
Right. He was a baseball guy.
Yes, he was, but he got booted.
After the divorce.
After the divorce, yeah.
But I tell you, he was right. The agents, there's all sorts of unethical agents. Look at the guy that ripped off Jack Clark and all those people.
yeah.
But yet these baseball players are like children, and these athletes and whatever.
It's the almighty dollar.
Or they were then.
Yeah.
Somebody like Jeter's, movie star.
Where's an agent going to try to send you when you're going to make $15 million or $10 million? To the $15 million.
But did you ever see the amount of money A-Rod kept from his $500 million in earnings? He's no dummy.
No, he isn't.
Scott Boras, I guess, since that was his signature client.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting down Scott Boras. He's brilliant. He's probably the most brilliant agent.
Yeah.
Bamboozling teams.
And he knew how to. If you don't give me what I want, I'm not going to deal with you anymore.
And
so he had that leverage.
I was going to bring in Charlie Finley, but we can have that another time. Because Marvin Miller knew that Charlie Finley was right. Because Charlie Finley, they both hated Bowie Kuhn. Charlie Finley said, let them be a free agent every year.
Yeah.
And Marvin Miller didn't want that because that would depress the price of everybody. And he's just, Charlie Finley knows this.
Yeah.
But they got the collective bargaining agreement, and okay, we'll give you 6 years or whatever. Or
Kuhn blocked a lot of the sales Finley made.
Well, he only did that
they weren't
because
in the
he
best
hated
interests
Charlie
of
Finley.
baseball. Yeah. He blocked
Blue,
Joe Rudy.
Vida Blue went to the New York Yankees for $1.5 million.
Yep.
And then Joe Rudy and Raleigh Fingers, I think, was it $2 million to the Red Sox? But the point was that Charlie Finley bought Mike Epstein for $300,000. So who is not the quality of a player that we're
I
talking
know.
about, and he let those go through in 1970. But that was before he started hating him. Bowie Kuhn was, but yet the baseball writers just put him on, put them right in. Now there's some guy in the BBWA on the Hippo. We got to inveigle him to come in here before he finds out what we're really about. I mean, if he starts actually watching the show or listening to Matt Condon on Unleash in the afternoon.
Unleash, yeah.
Well,
Yeah. So what's his shtick?
Who?
Do you know baseball? The guy you're just talking about.
Well, he writes. He's in the baseball writer BBWA. He votes for the MVP.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he attacked the letter of Joe Morgan something that you shouldn't vote for the guys on Peds.
Okay, I saw that.
Well, I'd vote for Clemens now and Barry Bonds because they had Hall of Fame careers before they started hitting the sauce.
Yeah.
But
it's
Mark McGuire was obviously on the entire time. Nice guy.
There's some already in the hall that were on it. Hey, what do you
we
think
don't
of
know.
What do you think of Palmeiro making a comeback or trying?
You mean in the Hall of Fame voting?
No, he's going to go to spring training and try.
And you don't believe that there's peds in baseball?
Oh, he
You're
got
crazy.
caught with them.
You're crazy.
Well, they can't get away with it now.
Yes, they can. They got away with it then. It was only because George W. Bush cracked on. When they wrote the book Game of Shadows, I was out there. That dump, Balco, was right next to where I lived. Geez, you'd go there to the Balco, then you'd go to get what's called the deep tissue massage. They caught Jerry Rice, the great San Francisco
49er.
Yeah, they caught him
on peds.
They caught him out there getting the deep tissue massage. They busted the massage parlors for being bordellos, but they let Jerry go. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
One of the best things was this Irishman who claimed that he slept with Janis Joplin just before she died. Got elected. He's a great. You know how. I don't know. L.A.'s not as liberal as San Francisco. San Francisco, when in the 90s, would make Cambridge, Massachusetts look like, Soviet Russia,
Yeah.
It was so out there. Well, he got himself elected district attorney. One of the best things he did, the assistant district attorney was running against him because he didn't give it. You could murder every cop, do this, that, or the other thing. What did he care, right? He's not going to put you in jail.
Right.
And the guy was making great headway. Then they caught him in that raid of the bordellos. But
Oh.
yes, it was always interesting to live in California,
Oh, I know. I lived there
Unlike
32 years.
Unlike New Hampshire, well, they actually write about what's going on. It doesn't stop anything from going on, but people do know about it.
Yeah.
Jeez, I've never been able to show my new Elvis Promised Land video. We're flying out to Los Angeles. Actually, in the thing, he goes to Las Vegas, but
Elvis.
the king.
Yeah.
And Babe Ruth, has the king of baseball.
Yeah. Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Jimmy Fox. You got some great ones out there. Cy Young, Ty Cobb, whether you like him or not. And
people just don't talk about Ty Cobb anymore as a great hitter.
No, they don't.
I'm running out of gas, Mr. Baseball. I don't know about you. I'm like a old reliever that, one of those guys, like they put Goose Gossage out in the 5th inning, right?
Yeah.
He'd throw some horrific heat,
Yeah.
by the 9th inning. I remember that in 78. When they first, because they didn't know how to use him and Sparky Lyle.
Right.
And they're both getting hammered.
Yeah. Then they finally got Gossage
Sparky
to close.
was not a mop-up man. You couldn't.
No.
You can't use either one that way.
What a trade that was for Danny Cater, I believe.
Yeah, but bringing in, and then Sparky Lyle wins the Cy Young Award, and then you bring in Goose Gossage.
Oh, I know.
Why they just didn't let Sparky Lyle go and trade him? I do not understand why. George Steinbrenner wouldn't let him go when Texas wanted him, and eventually got him.
Yeah.
But that year, where he really couldn't pitch in the stopper role,
Right.
that year wrecked him. He lasted 3 more years, 79, 80, and 81. But geez, he was a shadow.
Yeah, he was.
They really mistreated him.
He was a shadow.
But that's the way it was back then. He won. Steinbrenner gave him $133,000, where Bob Short wanted to give him $333,000. And you gotta, when you read, Sparky was, he was bitching and whining and everything.
The thing with Short was,
because guys didn't get,
he would
much
sign
of
a big player, but he wouldn't build around that player.
Bob Short, I don't understand. Yeah.
I think he's more into was it trucking or something?
Do you think Jeff Burroughs should have been the MVP in 1974? You're telling me there's not somebody in 1974 that was better than Jeff Burroughs that year?
There could have been. I saw him play in high school. In his senior year, he didn't hit 1 home run because he had a shoulder that was bad, but he played the whole season.
I think. Did Catfish win the Cy Young in '74? He won 24 games for the Yankees, right? Was that his first? Yeah, that was his first year.
Yeah.
Or was it '75?
Could have been 75, but he. I don't know.
Oh, 74. Catfish was on. They beat Los Angeles that year. He won 24 with the Yankees when he came on.
Not 74. The Yankees didn't beat.
No, Mr. Baseball. 1974. Catfish Hunter was still on the Oakland Athletics.
Right. And they beat.
Charlie Finley didn't pay the annuity for some ridiculous reason.
And they beat the Dodgers.
But how many
Five games.
many? What year was your Mr. Baseball? I don't have that title. What year was his Cy Young year?
Catfish?
Yeah.
I don't know
We
why,
have an
but
open line here, folks.
I think it was 72.
Did he win a Cy Young?
That's a good question.
You're here to answer these questions, Mr. Baseball.
Yeah, like I know absolutely everything.
You won a title, didn't you?
Yeah.
Is that why you're reluctant to put your title up to defend it?
No, it's just for everything I know.
1974, he won the Cy Young. So I was right. And he should have been the MVP that year.
You think so?
Anything's better than Jeff Burrows.
I'm not big on pitchers winning the MVP.
Why would you want Lefty Grove or Roger Clemens, those bums, winning a Cy Young award? I mean, a MVP award. Well, they didn't have a Cy Young award
Because they
when
pitched
Lefty won.
35 games.
How many starts do you think Catfish Hunter made in 1974? 41, 42?
Probably something like
With
that.
that arm he had?
Yeah, he was a great pitcher. He was the pitcher. Kurt Gowdy said, if I ever wanted a pitcher to throw the big game for me, it would be Catfish Hunter. I personally would have taken Koufax, but we all have our druthers.
Do we?
Yeah, we do. Koufax is the greatest
I would
pitcher
go with
ever.
Whitey Ford.
He was 10-9 in World Series play.
I guess I was wrong, huh?
Yeah. Lefty Gomez was 6-0 in World Series play.
How many was he in?
Oh gosh, I'd have to sit and figure that one out.
He was
in the 30s, predominantly in the 30s.
He was Joe DiMaggio's roommate.
Yeah, they were buddies.
You know what his nickname was?
Goofy.
Yes. And Joe DiMaggio said he learned how to dress from Lefty Gomez. And you wonder, how can you learn from the dress of somebody whose nickname's Goofy?
I can't.
Maybe he's named after Goofy the dog.
I can't picture that. I think JD was on his own. He was actually.
Joe DiMaggio had a roommate. They all did.
Yeah, he was. You know that ridiculous stat they have. He was one of the top 10 best dressed men in America one year. Yeah, like you see everyone that's.
No matter what you say,
he was dignified
about Ted Williams. He was not married to Marilyn Monroe.
No, Joe.
A few men were, but not Ted Williams.
No.
Joe DiMaggio was.
Oh, DiMaggio was totally smitten by her. He just
only lasted 9 innings, though.
Yeah.
9 months.
Not extra innings.
But actually, for the rest of his life, in a way.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
he ever marry after that?
No.
He had a wife before her.
Yeah. Yeah.
He had girlfriends.
Yeah.
I don't think Joe ever. Maybe that's why he had money at the end of his life.
Could be.
Oh, Joe.
They said he was frugal.
Ted Williams had all sorts of troubles with his ex-wife. Well, that's it for whatever we're called, the Ward 13 baseball show. Tune in next week and see if we're even here. Even the ball girl can't revive Teddy.